This weekend is filled with celebration, barbecues, fireworks, and other patriotic displays. However, given the recent years of domestic turmoil, inflamed by racial injustice, socioeconomic widening, mass shootings, and mounting deaths due to the coronavirus, how can we authentically rejoice and celebrate? Today's first reading provides us with a bridge on how to offer to God these painful areas. The prophet Isaiah reveals that God calls us to both rejoice over Jerusalem while acknowledging that there are those who are mourning over Jerusalem. Our God holds us completely, our joys and sorrows, our accomplishments and setbacks, and our pain and discomfort. This even includes our societal pain and discomfort. God permits us to mourn over the suffering we see in our nation and to name aloud these painful areas. There are those in our faith communities who would attempt to silence us, saying we are being unpatriotic, sowing hatred and division by naming aloud the injustices we see in our country. However, our God is a God of truth, and God's truth calls us to be prophets, to name aloud the injustices that are affecting the marginalized in our communities. Our God is not bound by finite binaries that attempt to gaslight people to remain silent rather than speak aloud the injustices that are affecting our country. Contrary to those in our faith communities, loving demands not ignoring the problem. When our friends, family members, spouses, loved ones, children are doing something to harm themselves or others, how can we sit back and ignore? No, loving demands that we confront the pain that the person is causing to themselves or to someone else. In the same way, we are actually being unpatriotic by ignoring and not naming the injustices in our nation, and also by silencing others from doing so. This, in effect, is actually sowing hatred and division. Additionally, in the first reading, we see that our God is here to comfort those who are suffering. In the spirit of this, in the light of this patriotic weekend, we ask God to comfort the members of our community who are Black, Brown, Indigenous, Asian American, Pacific Islander, all people of color. These people are made to feel unwelcome in our country. Often they are unjustly murdered, brutalized, falsely imprisoned, sent to prison, to the death penalty unjustly. We also ask God to comfort women who are often discriminated in society, in our country, and in our church. We ask God to comfort those who go without food and without shelter, those who cannot afford to pay rent, those who are living on the streets and in their cars. We ask God to comfort those who are suffering from coronavirus, who have died due to coronavirus. Pray for those who are caring for this population and for those who are mourning, those who have died over the coronavirus. Lastly, though not least, we ask God to comfort us who are seeing so much injustice, experiencing so much discouragement, and what we need is an outpouring of God's love to allow us to be agents of divine comfort as well as divine change, divine justice amid these areas that are afflicting the marginalized. For comfort without justice is merely a band-aid waiting to fall out. Comfort without demanding change is just a short-term fix. In the spirit of this patriotic weekend, I ask God to empower us all to be agents of change, to seek to undo that which binds all people, but particularly the marginalized, that which prevents them from living their full dignity, from living the true and full freedom that God created them to have and that God intended for them.